Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today I got a fun, exciting, and unexpected episode for you guys this evening as we're playing the recently released and preserved Mega Man Legends Great Adventure on 5 Islands. And if you're not aware, in Japan there were feature phones that basically had the ability to play 3D games and had entries in some of the most popular franchises we played back in the day, and we never got stateside. And having something like this just absolutely spectacular. It was only found as of last month as far as the actual game was concerned in February. People in preservations out there go and buy a bunch of phones on Yahoo auctions and other sites, hoping that some of these games are installed on them. Maybe the listing says it does have it, maybe it doesn't, and they recover these games and make them playable by everyone. So Mega Man Legends Great Adventures on 5 Islands, up until a month and a half ago, was a completely lost game, and now not only has it been found, it's been translated fully into English from a script that existed before people actually even really found the title to be able to emulate. Before you get far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. If you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, I got a Patreon link down below as well. And just a heads up off the top, emulating these phone games is an absolute mess. It can work, it does work, but it does require a lot of different setup. So this is definitely emulation on the hard end of things. If you've never emulated a game before, I would not jump into some of these Java emulators for the feature phones. It really is kind of the 10 out of 10 hard domain of emulation. But it does mean that this game is preserved, and honestly, considering we never got Mega Man Legends 3 on the 3DS like we were supposed to back in the day, having anything extra in this franchise is absolutely spectacular, and these phones definitely could churn out some decent 3D. Of course, you're not getting the same frame rate you would get out of a console. That's never expected from a phone back in 2008, but even being able to play this for the first time, let alone in English, is absolutely just incredible in my opinion. And the amount of people involved in a project like this is massive, so I will leave a credits list in the description below as well as a link for how to actually emulate this. But just be aware, I'm not really offering any support in the comments whatsoever. Big thanks to Andy D for helping capture this one. It is one of those things, you're just going to have to figure it out yourself. I mean that in the nicest way possible, but go in expecting it to be a little bit janky before it runs, and you will not be disappointed. But again, I love the fact that people are doing this. There's so many entries in very popular franchises on these feature phones back in the day, and so many of them are considered laws. So the fact that people are hunting down Japanese cell phones on auction sites, hoping that they can find some games to preserve them, dump them, and make them playable by everyone, literally is preservation on hard mode. It's probably the equivalent of me trying to find rare arcade boards that have never been dumped, that there's 3 or 4 of out in the world, and being able to allow you to play them once we figure it out on my Discord. I've done it more than once. It's always fun, so I always advocate and celebrate stuff like this. And I did leave the phone icons at the bottom here, map and items, because some of the menu keys are basically going to show up in that little white bar. And if you're about as old as I am, you maybe remember playing games like this on US cell phones back in the day. But it's one of those things, Japan just had better tech on the cell phone front in the 2000s, and they would get these games that nobody else would get. And there's probably games out there that no one even realizes exist outside of some place like Japan. And I've always loved the Mega Man Legends aesthetic, and it looks really good here. You will see the polygons are perspective correct. There's really no texture warping. The only thing about this that makes you realize you're playing on a cell phone outside of the aspect ratio is the fact that obviously the frame rate seems to be maybe 12 to 14 frames per second, but it is playable, and there aren't so many enemies on screen at once, so that low frame rate really is going to affect you all that bad. And again, I think everyone's going to be absolutely stoked to find out that there is another Mega Man Legends game out there that people can play and now play in English, because this isn't just an effort on the preservation front to find this phone and dump the game and make it playable. It's also the full translation as well, making it playable in English, including all of the diverse menus here. And I will say there's something about this janky polygonal aesthetic that just 100% works. Now, I'm not even sure if this is supposed to be the native frame rate if you're holding the phone, or if the frame rate via emulation on some of the Java just isn't up to speed, because it definitely has some sound hitching here and there. It is not going to be a perfect experience, but it's going to be an epically fun one, because again, it's basically like finding a lost Mega Man Legends game you didn't know existed. And I would say when the sound is working correctly, it really has a fun soundtrack as well that sounds good coming out of whatever hardware would have been on this phone back in the day. So go ahead and listen for 45 seconds, but come back as I'll show you more of this quote-unquote lost Mega Man Legends game. course, Tron Bonds showed up to screw up Mega Man's day. That's what she does. And as we get a little further in, you can tell that the sound there was good. But when you're actually playing the game with their sound effects, they seem to kind of hitch and kind of run over top of one another. And I love in the cutscene as well that there isn't really any animation between poses. It just kind of feels like a little bit of a marionette moving back and forth with a little bit of stilted animation in between. But I would say from the combat to the enemies here to the look, it is just absolutely a vibe. Feels like it's like PlayStation 1 with a little bit of enhancements in some directions and a little bit of downgrades in the other, because obviously we have that perspective correctness here on a cell phone game, but it definitely doesn't run at the same frame rate. But the artwork and the aesthetic is here intact, and again, getting something new, quote unquote, in the Mega Man Legends universe is just something that a lot of Mega Man fans are going to be stoked about, and I feel like not many people know that these things actually exist, because I would say I follow a ton of emulation news. I teach you guys how to use a lot of emulators. Even for me, this feature phone emulation and preservation scene is a little bit of an iceberg for me. I know the tip of it, but there's so much underwater that I'm just really not aware of. But you get some good models, you get some good polygons, and you get more Mega Man Legends, and that honestly is something to celebrate, and it is something that I want to spotlight, because again, imagine if you're looking for a lost game and the only place you knew it released was in Japan on a cell phone, and you were trying to just go around buying up all the cheap used cell phones you could get, hoping that one of those games that hadn't been dumped yet appeared on it, because sometimes people will list them with games listed included in the auction, but other times will just show the screen of a phone working, and you might buy 10, 15, 20 phones that have absolutely no games on them, or games that have already been dumped before you actually hit one that has anything that you would want to preserve. It is absolute dedication. It is just so much fun. Like about a year and a half ago, I bought a box of unlabeled hard drives that were from an arcade operator, and they basically just said they couldn't remember what was on any of them. So I bought like 15 drives for $75, looked into the contents of all of them, and every single one had been dumped in MAME. There was nothing new. But I took that $75 gamble just on the offhand chance that something was in there, and I was able to dump it for people. Unfortunately, I came up empty-handed, but for every bet you make, you do have a chance to find something amazing like a new Mega Man Legends game, and the fact that it's not only found but in English just makes it that much better. And I'm sure fans of Capcom and Mega Man are going to be stoked to know that they can now play the game with a full script, full menu, and understand a little bit more lore in the overall universe, because it is one of those things. I am shocked that Capcom has not released a Mega Man Legends 3 to this point in time. The 3DS version of the game looked absolutely so promising. They basically just pulled the rug out from underneath everyone, myself included, when they just canceled that with very little fanfare. So I feel like in 2025 it would be great to get a new Mega Man Legends game from Capcom, but at the least we now have a translated version of a cell phone game that was found February of 2024. I think maybe I said 2025 earlier in the video, so if I did, just remember New Puppy Exhausted. I did make a notation in the title there. But one more soundtrack sample and you'll hear where the audio emulation gets a little bit screwed up. 35 seconds and I'll be right back with just a little bit more about the game. I mean, you can obviously tell when there's sound effects playing, it basically doubles up over top of itself, and you do get some stuttering in the audio. So if you do want to play this today, you can play it from start to finish. It will work. You have full English. It's just not going to be a perfect experience. But as this type of preservation gains in popularity and emulation makers make better emulators for it or improve on the ones that already exist, you are going to end up in a situation where if you want to play a perfect version of a quote-unquote lost Mega Man Legends game, you won't have to hold the Japanese cell phone in your hand to be able to play it. And that's just spectacular. And I love that people are out there just buying up old boxes of cell phones in bulk and basically playing crap shoots with whether or not it's got anything on it. It absolutely amuses me. I love that people do it, and it's one of those things. As this happens more often, maybe I'll make more videos on this, but tell me down below, did you know that this game ever existed? Did you know that there were games in these franchises over in Japan that were based around cell phone technology? Because I feel like this is going to be a new one for a lot of people. And again, if you want to give this one a go, I've left all the pertinent links in the description below. Just remember, again, the This is going to be difficult to set up. If you follow all the directions, you will get there. It is just a time-consuming process that you basically want to pay attention to every single step along the way. But a brand new Mega Man Legends game is here today. It's playable, it's in English, and I'm assuming 99 out of 100 you never knew it existed. But short of that, we're done. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, but I will see you guys next time. Mega Man found the switch though, so we can keep going. Bye-bye.